Thank you for joining me today at Botanical Living with Kim. Today's video will answer the question, what is botanical medicine? This video is actually going to be a sort of mini class for you, and I'm setting it up a little differently than my normal videos. It's going to be more of a class structure, and we're going to discuss the differences between Eastern and Western medicine, using pharmaceuticals versus herbs as medicine options. We're going to discuss the brief history of medicine, focusing on holistic and botanical options. And then I'm going to finish up with a little bit of information about herbs and give you a sneak preview of my 10 herbal preparation methods. So stay tuned. Hello, and welcome to Botanical Living with Kim. I am so excited to be sharing this video with you today. I've actually taught this topic as an in-person class before, and maybe some of you watching actually have attended one of my previous live classes. And so if you have, thank you for joining me today. Welcome back. I hope you pick up some new tips, or maybe this will just be a good refresher. For everyone else, please know I am not actually a trained teacher, and I'm going to try to do my best to present this in a methodical way so you can get as much information as possible from me today. When I tell people about my holistic lifestyle and about being an herbalist, I get one question that comes up really frequently, and that is, what is botanical medicine? So to answer this, I have to give you some background information. To me, botanical medicine can really be defined like this. It is using what the earth is growing in a way that is natural and logical. It's the healthiest way to help our bodies be at their peak health and function. And that's really the way our bodies were designed. Our bodies are amazing. They want to heal themselves. Anytime there's an imbalance created, our bodies can correct that if they're supplied the right nutrients. And this is really where plants as medicine comes into play. The nutrients that our bodies need to be healthy come from nature. They come from herbs and vegetables and all forms of plant life. Herbs have been used to treat medical conditions and promote wellness in the body for thousands of years. By taking information from traditional Chinese medicine or traditional Oriental medicine, as well as Ayurvedic medicine, and combining that with modern information, I have pulled together what I believe is a very, very powerful botanical medicine foundation. Botanical medicine is a holistic approach to a healthy life. With it, we can use what our bodies need, we could use it as needed, and ideally it will keep our bodies in homeostasis. When you cook with herbs, you continually reinforce the healthy components of those herbs, and you supply extra micronutrients and really keep your body being the healthiest it possibly can be on a day-to-day basis. Another often overlooked aspect of botanical medicine and overall holistic health is taking time out. We need some quiet time, meditation time, a chance to decompress by ourselves, relax with no stimuli. Like, think back to when you were a little kid. In my childhood, the TV went off at, 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. It went to snow, static. There was only like 8 channels anyway. But when I was a little kid, the TV just went down. And so there wasn't that constant 24-hour, all night long stimulation happening. And of course, there was no computers and no cell phones to grab and keep our minds going in the middle of the night. So what happened was we had to sleep, and our bodies had a chance to reset themselves, and our circadian rhythms were normal, and therefore it promoted health and wellness and a good night's sleep, and we felt a lot better back then. Today's society is full of chaos, and we have stimulation at our fingertips, but our bodies haven't caught up with that evolution of technology completely. There's lots of things we can do to help, but we really will benefit so much by just taking those few minutes at the end of the day and allowing ourselves time to decompress. Lucky for you and I, there is a wealth of information right at our fingertips. First, we have books. Now, back when I first started getting interested in herbal medicine, That was the early 90s, and there was only books, and there were limited books back then too. So I bought everything I possibly could, or I checked it out at the library, and I just tried to absorb all of this information. Well, now fast forward 25 years later, and there are so many more opportunities for all of us to learn about herbal and botanical medicine. And you could use things like the internet. There are in-person classes, online classes, workshops, schools, and YouTube channels just like this one. So where did this abundance of information come from? Well, herbal studies have actually been around for a long time, and the history of herbalism is quite fascinating. And we're going to delve into that right now. And a little side note, I'm going to probably glance down at my notes during portions of this video because, like I mentioned in the beginning, I'm trying to teach this like I would an actual class. And in a class setting, I would probably have a big whiteboard set up with my full outline up there, and I would have some notes to refer to. So bear with me if I glance down at notes periodically through this portion. You probably know that medicinal herb use has been around for a very long time, but really where did it originate from? Well, the first written recordings of herbal use was from over 5,000 years ago. There was a written record of medicinal plants carved into clay tablets, which were found in ancient Mesopotamia. These were written down by the Sumerians, and this is what is now considered Iraq. Around 1500 BC, the ancient Egyptians transcribed lists of herbs onto papyrus. In fact, they recorded over 850 different herbs that they used for medicinal reasons at that time. Included in those are hundreds that we still use today. Some of the things they originally wrote about were things like cardamom, ginger, licorice, mints, turmeric, just to name a few. It's pretty amazing. In China, herbal tradition was written down. In Greece, Hippocrates used herbs and recorded one of the very first information things about white willow bark and how it's used as a pain reliever. During the Middle Ages, the Benedictine monks grew elaborate herb gardens, and they really wrote down a lot of information about not only growing herbs, but studying their effects on the body, positive and negative. And as you know, you probably know this, there was a lot of trial and error in those early herbal days because not every plant is safe to eat. And while a good portion of the herbs and plants we come in contact with are safe and valuable and useful in our bodies, there is a large number that are actually very poisonous. And there's varying degrees of those poisons. It could be from mildly toxic, where you just get a rash, to something really severe, like death. Herbalism really hit the modern world in the 1600s. At that time, Nicholas Culpeper was an herbalist, a botanist, a physician, and he did extensive research, wildcrafting and cataloging different herbs, and he eventually published extensive works on botanical medicine. He tried to bring medicine to the poor and was actually scorned by the other physicians at that time. In the mid to late 1800s, there was a group of people who were referred to as the eclectics, and they really began combining herbs with other substances and using those as new therapies on their patients. Here's an important date to remember, 1904. In 1904, the American Medical Association was officially formed and medicine became standardized. Now, this is really important because between 1910 and 1935, all of the different schools around the United States specifically that were teaching all the different types of medicine kind of merged. So more than half of the previous American medical schools merged with large universities or closed altogether at that time. Now, that actually kind of leads me to the next portion of this, which is Eastern versus Western medicine, because at that time when standardization happened, more natural Eastern ways of thinking about medicine, like homeopathy, naturopaths, chiropractic work, osteopathic work, and specifically botanical medicine, were really strong competition to the modernized view on medicine in the United States. And a really strong contrast with allopathic medicine. So there can be some really good reasons to raise a standard of expectation with medicine, and there are also good reasons to explore alternative methods at different times and be tolerant to different perspectives. I'm going to flash my disclaimer on here really quick because I am not a medical doctor. I am an herbalist, and I can't prescribe medicine. I can't make claims about what herbs can do. All I am doing when I give information about herbs is just that, giving information on the traditional uses of herbs throughout history and how they may or may not benefit each person. I read a statistic that stated that as of 2015, over 50% of the population in the world had used or was currently using some form of Eastern medicine, be that yoga, acupuncture, herbal remedies, etc. And these have all been based on traditional therapies used for hundreds or thousands of years. They don't always come with scientific backing. Some do. And as time progresses, there are more and more scientific studies being conducted all of the time to validate the findings on herbs that people have known for thousands of years. But there's not 100% proof all the time with every single herb. There's just a long history of results. Generally speaking, Eastern medicine is looking to use a holistic approach. We like to find the root of the issue, we like to treat that, and we like to enhance the body's overall health at the same time. Eastern medicine really concentrates on your energy flow, knowing that your chi, or your life force, goes through your bloodstream, through your mind, and then it all works together. If you've got stagnation in one part of your body, that body system won't work properly, and that's where illness or disease comes from. Western medicine is based on science and really driven by how the physical systems work in the body. So sometimes medications taken in the Western medicine have really bad side effects, and they create enough of a problem that more medications are prescribed that will combat the drug's initial side effects, and then this nasty cycle begins. And that's where I have an issue with it, and that's why I appreciate Eastern medicine and botanical options so much. Excuse me. I want to touch briefly on this regarding pharmaceutical companies, because while there are certainly good intentions and a general want to help, especially from physicians themselves, I mean, I have to believe that fundamentally physicians are trying to help their patients. But maybe there's not enough of a desire from the pharmaceutical end to actually fix the problems, because really there's no money if a person gets cured or fixed and then they never need that drug again. So that's something to think about, because pharmaceutical companies are in the business to make money, and they'll make more money if some side effects happen, because that can provide either more of that drug, which is going to drive up the cost, or they're going to come in with a secondary drug. Well, just take this and it'll combat those problems. And so many people want a quick fix, and we are so trained in today's day and age for this allopathic way of thinking where I have this problem, just give me a pill, and a pill's going to make everything better. But it doesn't really make everything better. And if you're personally interested in enhancing your overall health, you'll really consider the options and the benefits of botanical medicine. I have some samples for you to look at, different kinds of herbs that you may want to use. I like to keep my herbs in mason jars for the most part. So this is a dried herb, and these just come out loosely. I will show you a close-up of this too. Dried herbs can be used for teas and oils, even decoctions. I'll talk about the methods of preparation in a little while, but that's some uses for dried herbs. You might use roots. These are some root pieces, and roots are usually used for some of your heavier preparation methods. Sometimes you'll use flowers. Here are some really pretty calendula flowers that I grew in my garden last season. You might use berries, you might use leaves, and you might use fresh herbs. Here's a sprig of basil I just ran out and picked from my garden really quick. Smells wonderful. Fresh herbs are great to use in tinctures, in glycerates, in teas, actually, and in cooking especially. So growing your own herbs is really, really rewarding. And that leads me into this next section. Where do we get our herbs from? So I'll go ahead and mention growing first. As you know, I am a gardener and I love growing herbs. And I'm going to be doing several videos that are garden related, so we'll discuss soil preparation and bed location and things like that. But growing your own herbs is a really great way to give yourself a variety of herbs at your fingertips, always ready for yourself. Another place you can get them is purchase them. You can buy them in a store or you can buy them online. And I'm going to put some links down below at some of my favorite online herbal locations, both to buy herbs like this, and also I'm going to include one where I like to get some of my medicinal herb seeds from as well, if you're interested in gardening. And another option of places you can get herbs from is wildcrafting. And wildcrafting basically means going out into nature and collecting herbs. Now, one warning on this. If you go out and you harvest in nature, please do it ethically. We can only sustain these type of plants for so long, and some of them take years and years and years to reach their potency, to reach a point where it's safe to harvest. So don't ever go in and wipe out an entire crop of herbs. I mean, not only is that just totally rotten and morally wrong, but you want to save some for the earth to keep an abundance growing, because we want it to keep growing and producing more herbs. You want to allow other people to be able to harvest some as well. But it's really important. You'll notice that if you talk to other herbalists or other people that like to wildcraft, they don't always want to share their locations. And there's a really good reason for that. Because sometimes people hear about it, especially large groups or facilities that want to make bulk medications, and they will go out and they will completely wipe out an entire stand. And again, like I mentioned, sub-herbs, like OSHA, for example, take years and years and years to produce viable plants, and when you go wipe them out, they're done, and we risk completely eradicating certain species from the planet, and we don't want to do that. You don't want to be part of that. So please harvest ethically when you go out. Another thing I want to mention here is pay attention to the times of year. Certain herbs are only available at certain times of year. There is a specific plant I go up into northern Arizona for every fall. And not all plants are available depending on the season either. Like, we have had a really, really dry summer this year. So I don't know if these trees that I am looking for a specific bud from are going to be producing good buds. Normally, it happens early October. Last year, I had to get them in early November, but there's only about a 3-week window sometimes when plants are transitioning. Sometimes they're putting out a bud or putting out a flower or a leaf. And if you want that specific part of the plant, you really have to pay attention to the cycles in nature. That's part of the fun of wildcrafting though, but it's part of your responsibility. If you're going to wildcraft, do it ethically. As I mentioned in the beginning, I want to give you a sneak peek at 10 methods of herbal preparations, and these are my personal favorites to use, and I use them regularly. I'm going to be doing a whole video that's going to be very in-depth on these 10 herbal preparation methods, but I want to give you a little taste of it right now and entice you, and hopefully you'll want to watch that next video and really learn how to use these. So the first one is a tea. I bet every single one of you watching this video are familiar with teas. And teas are, like I said, probably the most well-known way to use herbs in the entire world. Drinking a nice hot cup of tea or a glass of iced tea is so refreshing. It's sort of a calming ritual, and most of us can do this without thinking about it. Teas, basically, in a nutshell, you put the herbs in a container. You're gonna heat up water, you're gonna pour it over to steep those herbs. I tend to cover most of them, keep all those essential oils trapped in there, and about 20 minutes later, you have a brewed cup of tea. The second herbal method I'm talking about is a decoction. Now, decoctions are similar to a tea, except for instead of steeping the herbs in hot water, the herbs are actually boiled in water for an extended amount of time. And we typically do things like roots or hard barks as decoctions. And then you let it sit for several hours and you strain it and you use it and it becomes a tea again. The third method is cold infusion. Now, cold infusions are water preparations. They take the longest to prepare. It's kind of like a tea, but basically the herbs are submerged in cold or just in unheated room temperature water and allowed to sit for 12 to 24 hours. Now there's no heat to draw out the constituents of the herbs, so these are very mild. Number 4 is tincture. A tincture is either an alcohol or a glycerin-based herbal extraction, and I make lots of tinctures. Number 5 is syrup. Syrups are made by cooking down your herbs in a strong decoction, like number 2, and then adding some sort of honey or a glycerin or a sugar or something to sweeten it and make it really thick. And then syrups usually last in your refrigerator for, maybe 1 to 2 months. Number 6, that was number 5. Okay, number 6, essential oils. Essential oils are obtained through a distillation process, and that creates a highly concentrated herbal extraction. They're mainly used for external purposes. Occasionally there's some internal essential oils, but mostly these are for topical applications. Number 7, poultice. Poultice is a fresh herbal application that is applied directly to a wound on the skin. Number 8, compress. A compress is similar to a poultice, except for you're creating like an herb tea or an herb decoction, and you are soaking a cloth of some sort in that mixture, and then you're applying that cloth to the skin as a compress, and it can either be partnered with cold or heat. Number 9, a soak. A soak is like you make an herbal tea, possibly with some essential oils, and then you're immersing a body part into that solution as a soak. And then number 10 is a salve. And salves are made by infusing or decocting herbs in oils. And then you strain the physical herbs out, and you're adding in something like a beeswax to that herbal oil, and you let it cool, and you create a salve. So as you can see, the subject of botanical medicine is a very extensive one. I have tried to condense a 3-hour class program that I designed down to an acceptable time frame here on YouTube. So I hope you've gotten some information that can be valuable for you. And I will eventually do some more live classes, and I'll definitely post information on those as I decide to do them. But in the meanwhile, I hope you enjoy learning this way. I'd like to give a quick shout out to Mike Masick, who owns the Forager's Path, which is a school of botanical medicine up in Flagstaff, Arizona. I first met Mike when I signed up for his year-long course up in Flagstaff, and he has become a wonderful friend and colleague who I am just so thankful that I have gotten the privilege of knowing and learning from. I'm going to put information on Mike's upcoming Foundations of Herbal Medicine class, and I'm going to put that information down below in case any of you are in the Southwest region and would like to learn in person in a very in-depth but practical way, hands-on learning style, learning all about herbal medicine and wildcrafting and the uses. It's just a fabulous class. I would actually take it again in a heartbeat if I could. And so that information is going to be down below. You can find the link, and I strongly encourage you to check out Mike's website as well, because he has so much information and he has a great repertoire and information about plants, and he's got remedies that are available at different times. So I highly, highly encourage reaching out and checking him out. I want to thank you very much for watching today's video. Please take a second and hit the subscribe button down below if you haven't already done so, and give this video a thumbs up. I would really appreciate that. If you have any questions for me, please feel free to write them down below, and also you're welcome to leave a positive comment. We only want to spread good information, but no, seriously, leave me any comments if you have any questions or anything like that down below. Feel free to share my channel with your friends and family or anyone you think may benefit from knowing about herbal medicine or any of the other botanical topics that we discuss on this channel. And again, I want to thank you, and I want to wish you health and happiness and a beautiful day. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.